Welcome to The Client's Perspective, the podcast that puts agency partnerships under the microscope. I'm your host, Jo Rogers. I have nearly 20 years of experience in marketing, straddling both agency and client side, and I've seen firsthand how pivotal the agency-client relationship is. Each month, we delve into this dynamic world, from the essentials of a winning pitch to the secrets of lasting partnerships, and even the occasional war story. We've got it all. My journey has taught me one crucial lesson. Understanding and servicing client needs is the bedrock of successful long-term collaborations, and that's what we're here to explore. So stay tuned for insights that could redefine your approach to collaboration and success. And please don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on our monthly episodes, and follow us on LinkedIn for more updates and exclusive behind-the-scene content. Now let's welcome today's guest. I am so pleased to have with me Joanne Chidwick, a highly experienced marketing director who I had the pleasure of calling my client many moons ago. We worked together whilst Jo was at Oracle for a number of years and had a lot of fun navigating the complexities of an enterprise company. But we made it work. And now here we are, 15 or so years later, ready to talk all things agencies. And I can't wait. So grab a coffee or take the dog for a walk and settle into a great session packed full of useful insights. So Jo, in your extensive career in marketing, you must have worked with a number of agencies. I can imagine of all varying sizes. I'd love to know how you go about choosing which agency you want to work with. What are your key factors that make you reach out to certain agencies for a quote or RFP at the initial stages?
Good question. One that has no definitive answer. I was actually feeling quite nostalgic while you were talking about when we were working together at Oracle, because the agency that you were working for at that time really did tick quite a lot of the boxes that I'm looking for in an agency. But now here we are, 2024, and the world is, it certainly isn't as it was back in those days. And I'm sure that it's going to be changing again. We've got, loads of more opportunity. We've got AI coming on. We don't really know what's going to happen there. But, I think that the basics always starts with trust. Then agility, complete autonomy. I mean, I believe in having, in having a representative that is our first point of call, rather than having to go to multiple people within an agency. I want someone that is, basically in our team. I want an agency to wow me with innovation and creativity. And I want them to be fully transparent. Things don't go right. Campaigns don't always work, or maybe not the first time. So, that is really what I'm looking for. Someone, an agency that can be honest and open, and can offer, like a business advisory role. I believe in building strong relationships. Working with agencies for a long time, that really, really does work for me. And so they're kind of the basics as far as my first look into a new agency.
Yeah, it's that's extension of the team, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's what you what you want. And funny enough, me and Jo have been speaking previous to this about, reminiscing over our time working together. And you used a great word. You called us a family. And that's just absolutely what it was. We got to know each other so well. I understood, the company so well. It just became seamless and friends, and it was a great working relationship. And I think that's so key, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the business advisor role is absolutely key. Someone, like you said, that understands the internal workings of an organization. They have to understand the stakeholders that I am going to have to talk to, understand the day-to-day runnings of the business and what are the priorities, get to understand when we need to show the results, what kind of metrics we need, but most of all, building trust with the stakeholders around the business as well. I want them to be an extension of me and my team, so that they can go to a sales meeting and, they can talk, with intelligence and clarity about what the campaign is about how it maps to our messaging. I want someone that has, the ability to do that and the need to do that, because it's really important that whole family status, as you mentioned before, it comes together. It's so
Yeah,
important, Joe, because, with that
it's
comes integrity. And, meet me face to face, discuss things openly. That's what I like to see. Sorry.
yeah. And it's so important. And I like the fact that you're touching on the fact that it's not just you as the direct client, but there's other stakeholders to think about here as well. It's building the trust outside of just your day-to-day contact. And that business advisor, I sort of call it like your strategic advisor, it's so integral to really understand that business, because then you can add that value, you can understand those pain points, and you can really show the value as an agency to your client, rather than just being someone that's just delivering a product or a service. So that's really interesting. Thank you so much on that first point. So once you've decided on looking for that agency, I know we've sort of touched on it a little bit already, but what's utopia? So we've sort of talked about this business advisor, but what's that utopia as an agency for you? What's the things that you look for in all aspects of it? If you had to sort of put it pen to paper and be like, right, this is what I think an agency should look like.
Yeah. I don't want an agency to be too big to care. You've probably heard of that before, but that there is merit in that, because I've worked with very large agencies and I don't have that one-to-one contact. So I would say having a trusted advisor that was part of my team, absolutely key. And in a large agency, it's difficult to do that. Someone who has meat, an agency that has meat in skin in the game, someone who understands the urgency around it. I mean, in marketing, we don't get that many windows of opportunity to share our campaigns. It's important that they move as we move forward. The one massive issue that I've had with agencies in the past, especially large agencies, is not delivering on time. So I would say that is absolutely crucial for an agency. They have to understand that these timeframes are not there for aesthetics. They're there because we need it for the business. And someone, as I say, going back to that, open and honest, so that when things do go wrong, we sit together and we say, hey, look, what can we do? Look at the facts. Look what's happened, and be able to work transparently together. And as I say, you mentioned family before, really setting realistic expectations and being part of a family, part of a team.
And that's an interesting one, actually, talking about setting realistic expectations, because I know from like your perspective that it's about understanding, when you're going to get something, maybe from, a process of like reviewing things and, understanding when projects are going to go live, etc. But I don't think agencies well enough take into consideration the expectations that you're then having to manage internally. So we're thinking about making sure that, as an agency, that we are, setting realistic expectations with you. But if they slip, what's the implications for you as a client and the stakeholders that you're also managing internally?
Yeah, it's massive, actually, Joe. That's a really good point, because we're only as good as as our team and our agency put together. As I say, I see that as one full team. You're not just letting down, your sales stakeholders, which is going to impact them directly, but you're also letting down your credibility for your team. The wider stakeholders. That your boss and your boss's boss. The other teams around the company are looking to marketing to really roll out on time, on budget, creative and hard-hitting campaigns that bring in pipeline and raise awareness. A marketing campaign for a medium-sized company is actually part of their DNA. It's, everybody's interested in it. And I think it impacts across the business. Have you made a wrong decision? Why are we paying this agency this money? All of those questions get asked. And if you're so far removed from understanding that is what's happening in the business, how can you possibly deliver things on time? I strongly believe in the 80-20 rule. You know what? Nothing is going to be perfect. I would rather see 3, or 4 ideas, that are just drafted so we can work together on them than waiting for, the finished project, which may not be what I actually need. So I think that constant engagement, especially around creative, is really, really important. To lose track of timelines is incredibly difficult. I'm left, explaining it to my sales leaders, and my team look compromised. Well, they are compromised because it makes us look like we can't deliver on time.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair point, talking about transparency as well. It's we're all human, and mistakes can happen, and campaigns that we think are going to be really well received, or, they're going to work really well, doesn't always happen. But the worst thing that I think as an agency, and I'm sure that from a client's perspective is the same thing, is hiding that away from clients. Actually, what you would prefer, I'm sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to understand what's gone wrong, why it's gone wrong, or not wrong necessarily, but why it may be not working or resonating as well, and then come up with a solution for that, so that you can then again manage those expectations and potentially rework and reposition what you're actually working at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? Along with that transparency, there's the agility piece. There's no point in running a campaign that's not working and letting it run and run, especially a social digital campaign. It's not going to work. You know that quite quickly. So reining it in quickly, understanding that every time you put that campaign that's not working, the messaging or the creative is not working, it's costing the client money, i.e., and that's going to be an issue. But by actually coming forward quickly and saying, hey, look, this isn't working, and coming up, hey, we've got these solutions, let's try it, I think that is really important. So the transparency and the agility to act when as soon as it doesn't work. I think that comes part as you move forward in that relationship. It becomes easier because you get to know more about what's going to work and what isn't. You get to know the client more and you build up that trust. So it's not saying, oh, I've messed up. It's saying, hey, look, that didn't work. Let's tweak it. Let's move on. And I think that's, I don't like playing the blame game. I've had campaigns that have not worked. I don't expect an agency to come in and deliver every time. Sometimes it does take a few goes. But I think, as I say, working closely is really going to help that.
Yeah, completely. And I think, as you say, it's, agencies have expertise, but you also have expertise and you also have your knowledge base as well, don't you? So it is that collaborative approach to working on things, which also helps. So making sure you have that trust enables that collaboration, doesn't it? And actually, interestingly, if we think about that collaborative piece, like I know we talked about it before, and I mentioned it, we talked about the family feel. But for you to get that family feel, to have that collaboration, what have you got any top tips of, like, if an agency was going to sit there an hour and be like, right, how can I get to that point with my client? Have you got any top tips that you've used or seen as best practice over the years?
What I believe, to this day, is that you should be planning for success, all right? And if it means that your year starts either a fiscal in January or February, then I believe that you should be starting to plan literally 5 months before that, maybe even 6 months, starting to roll on. So you've got a rolling 6-month plan. And in order to plan for that success and to get everything right, you need to have, again, that famous word agility, and that it can only come from having a team. So what I like to do is, especially with an agency, especially with a new agency, is to bring them into this planning process. It means that you can adapt to the business needs. It means you can, get the team all in agreement right from the beginning. And I believe in setting up these, what I call working groups, for the core campaigns that are running through that rolling 6-month period. And that working group should consist of a whole plethora of people within the marketing and sales organization. So you have obviously a field marketer, you have a product marketer, you have a creative, a salesperson, because it's important that they are walking alongside you. If sales are not engaged, then obviously your campaigns are a non-starter. You need marketing operations. You need to ensure that this is being tracked and measured and that it's being logged properly in the systems. You might want to bring in an event specialist, but you always have your kind of trusted marketing agency representative in that team. That means they are there from concept to execution. It ensures that they've got skin in the game. I talked about that earlier. It means that they know what is going on from the moment the campaign has started. And this ensures that the agency are there, say from the concept to the execution, and that they understand the importance of keeping to the timelines. If there are going to be delays, they're in a position to offer solutions to help us. They make up that working group, that family, that team, and it means that they understand how important it is to keep these projects rolling through. So that would be a top tip for me. Don't expect the agency to know, by telepathy what you're thinking. Get them in from day one and really work together. That way, they will feel like they are, they have to keep on top of their stakeholders too. They will have, the ability to basically change things. And you can't play that blame game there.
I think that's a really, really great one. And I think that doesn't probably happen enough. I've certainly been in some of those type of meetings before, and they're so invaluable. And I think from an agency's perspective, something that we probably also forget about is actually all those stakeholders that are also involved and, who all have some form of direct impact on the campaign as a whole, obviously, depending on the type of campaign that you're running. But it gives them also that ability to learn more, doesn't it? So, there's different views, there's different perspectives, there's different needs. Like, a salesperson's objectives for the campaign might be different from your perspective on it, or the marketing operations will be interested in a different aspect of it to the event specialist. So being able to hear and build those relationships means that the agency then can also pull on those expertise as well, as and when necessary. And I've been in that before in, big, complex, full service programs and stuff. It definitely works much better when agencies are brought in from the start so that they can really understand different perspectives and challenges and, people, and build that trust and that relationship with them for sure.
Yeah, it's all about accountability as well, isn't it? If you're in a working group and you're looking at that RAG report, that project management plan every week, everybody has accountability. And I think that's really important to keep the wheels on the bus, get it down.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. Thank you. So, Jo, we have a tradition on this podcast that all clients will end the session giving our listeners a bit of a war story working with an agency. So do you have a scenario that sticks out for you that you could share with the audience on what could have been done to prevent this situation from maybe getting to the point that it did, or a learning that you had when you went through that situation?
Yeah, I was actually sacked by an agency. They told me it was because I hadn't spent enough money with them. But actually, the first quarter I'd worked with them, I'd given them 120K and the campaign bombed. So it was a large agency. There wasn't that transparency, the campaign wasn't just delayed. It was literally, it never started. We had a pilot that wasn't successful. And then the actual campaign, I was sacked before the campaign even started. The same agency literally delayed the launch of our campaign, citing that a payment had not been processed. When I explained that, I paid them over a month ago, they replied, "Oh no, we mean our internal payment flow." So, I wasn't even in front of their payment flow internally. The irony of that, sacking me, saying I wasn't spending enough money. I mean, they'd done a terrible job. I think they would just try to get rid of me so that they could get out of the campaign. But I say the irony of the whole thing is that when we'd left the agency, we actually took it in-house. it was one of the most successful campaigns we've ever run within that organization. And it was an ABM campaign at C-level. We got 18 one-to-one C-level meetings within a quarter. It was it was amazing. So, from bad comes good. So, lessons learned.
Yeah. And it's an awful war story to hear, to be honest. I mean, no one wants to be sacked for not spending enough, but unfortunately, you do hear of these things and agencies saying that they won't want to work with people, unless you're spending a certain amount of money. But, also the implications for that sort of stuff that's reputation at the end of the day. Like you will now, I'm assuming, never work with that agency again. But also, if anyone came to you and suggested an agency, like, they're not going to be at the forefront of your mind because you wouldn't want to put anyone else through that experience.
No.
So it's all well and good having these sort of boundaries in place, or wanting a certain level of, finances from a client. But you've got to think about the implications of those things as well, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I've worked with one agency for 16 years. One agency for 16 years. And I'm still working with them. Yep. I think that, and you know what? If your ex-agency had still been, I called on you guys again and again. It was only, when I think they merged that we didn't work with you. So, I think that says a lot. It is about the people. It is about about the trust, and long-term relationships have so much more to offer.
Yeah, totally. And to be honest, it's not just from your side; it's from our side as well. From an agency side and client side. It's you spend a lot of time with your clients, and you value that relationship. You value that genuine relationship that you build with people, and working with people that you like and you trust is only a pleasure, isn't it? So, it's a two-way street for everyone, isn't it, really?
And it's also good for business. I mean, I've recommended this agency that I work with to about 25 people. I have taken them into different organizations that I've worked in. So, it's actually, it pays well too. It's not just, it's not just a tick box. It actually is a good way of running a business. Because,
Absolutely.
In marketing, we're always moving around. We've got lots of contacts. We're very sociable people. And it's important to remember that.
Yeah. I mean, it's everything that I say. It's about, service your clients well, retain your clients, grow your business, because those are the clients that will, like, as you say, they'll move, they'll take you with you, they'll recommend you, as you say, like that business just through word of mouth has had potentially 25 new clients. So that's amazing. And that's done based on the fact that they have, done everything that you've asked, in this podcast, and you've talked about transparency, trust, collaboration. If you've got everything and you believe in the product and you believe in the service that they're providing, you feel comfortable to go ahead and suggest that to other people, don't you? So yeah, it's so key to the growth of agencies.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, thank you so much, Jo. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast, and what you've shared has been so invaluable, insightful. And I have no doubt agencies listening today have got some real tangible insights to take away and reflect on. So thank you so much. And I hope it won't be another 15 years until we speak again.
No, I'm sure it won't. Thanks, Jo. It's been a pleasure.